Thank you for the heads up. I didn't know. Well, I guess. Sorry,
Good morning.
I just revealed you, Liz.
That was sudden.
I was pondering and I just didn't care. And my hair is doing weird things today because I'm trying something new, which is going to be weird right now. Ready? Whoop. Too many ponytails in the back of my head. I don't know what I'm doing. Hi, welcome to the Sun Dragon Sideshow.
The Dear Becky and Lizzy edition.
I'm a little distracted.
About that for a second.
You did?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Well, I was like, the you know.
I'm a little distracted this morning, so I didn't know what I was doing. I forget what I was thinking about. Oh, I'm always worried that it's not recording. Like, and I have to double check and move the mouse around and stuff. And now it just yells at us. This meeting is being recorded. So I can maybe let go of my insecurities about that, but I don't let go of my insecurities. It's okay. Hi, I'm Rebecca. I'm the owner of Sun Dragon Art and Fiber in overcast and probably going to rain today, Brevard, North Carolina.
I'm Liz. I'm the minion.
Can you vouch that it's going to rain today? She's my weather guru. She's my guru for lots of things.
It falls a lot along the discussion we had yesterday about it's going to rain. Yeah. It's going to rain. Yeah. It's going to rain. Yeah.
Okay then.
It's not going to rain. Probably. Like,
okay.
The radar shows there is potential for rain, but the chances of rain are real low.
Sunday, when you looked at the weather for the week, it was supposed to rain for like half the week.
At least.
Yeah. And it's not. Or it is only a little.
It tried really, really hard yesterday.
Yeah. That was it trying to rain on my drive home. But I mean, everyone around here will say, we need the rain.
We do.
We need the rain. And we probably do. But it also impedes outside shopping, which is how some of our customers are assisted right now if they don't care to sign up online. But it's so easy to sign up online. So, anyway, I digress. No, because
so it either will or it won't.
Or it won't. And yep.
And it could like within a half mile of us and we not get it. And
we could put the tent up just in case. But if it's going to be windy, we can't. It's really a sun tent more than a rain tent, but it does keep the rain off you. But if it's windy, it both blows the tent, which we have good weights for, and blows rain under the tent and makes people wet. So, and then we have all the people who think life is normal and why are we doing this? And we're not there yet. I got out of my system early. Okay. So it's this catch-22 that keeps me up at night.
It's the beginning of the month.
She says I always worry about sales at the beginning of the month. And in the middle and at the end. But this is my health goo juice. I forget what I was gonna say. Doesn't matter. Emergency. I get some vitamins in me. I know it's better if I have fresh items to get vitamins in me, but that's not really happening right now. So
I brought fruit.
That means she brought Fig Newtons. I'm just letting you know.
They're cookie wrapped fruit, but I brought fruit. We don't have
real fruit at the shop because that would just go bad and smell.
We've tried real fruit.
We have? We tried the fruit cups. That's not real fruit.
No, we tried real fruit like a while ago, and it was hit or miss as to whether or not we actually ate it.
And that I don't remember that means it was a miss for me. Okay, so it's the Dear Becky and Lizzy edition. We are Becky and Lizzy today because it's our Dear Abby adjacent show on Thursdays when we have questions. And we have a couple of email questions today, right?
We have two,
which is what a couple is.
Yes.
Language has become weird lately, right? Like couple should mean two, but sometimes people say, I'm going to tangent here. Sometimes people say couple and they mean like five.
That's more than several.
That's few or several or yeah. Anyway.
My grandma owned a cookie shop. She was like, a couple is two, a few is three, several is four. And then,
It's a very precise way to define other than couple. Those other things to me could be anything.
Well, they could be, but it made life simpler when people are like, I want a few cookies. And
we knew what that meant.
Specifics, people.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so That's how I always judge a few and several is.
Okay. We're at least mostly on the same page then.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a couple of emails.
We have a couple.
Hit me with one. She shared these with me and I've thought about them, but not enough to have real answers. So I'm gonna wing it because we don't do show notes.
We do the same thing every time we get emails. I send Rebecca a screenshot.
And I go, ooh.
That'll be fun. And then nothing gets discussed publicly
because we're
or
busy,
between us until
we're tired or something. So then we get to then it's genuine when we discuss it right here
live and in person, processing the whole thing without show notes.
Did we say that enough times? Maybe. Sorry. I'm gonna let her read one.
Dear Becky and Lizzy, assuming that you could make anything you wanted and use any yarn you wanted.
It's this one. Okay.
Rather than knit for the shop using shop yarns, which one single pattern would you make and which yarn would you use to make it? Mindfully curious.
I didn't absorb the end part of that when you sent it to me. Like one single pattern. I gotta pick one. You're killing me. You're killing me, Smalls. What
if you could make like out of all the million patterns on Ravelry, and there's over 1 million actually, so probably 2 million patterns out there by the time you add up the ones that are.
I probably should have thought about this before we filmed.
Yeah, but like your dream. Think about your dream piece. I know what mine would be.
Then you should start because I have no idea.
There's a Thistle wrap.
Okay, not the one you started.
Not the one I started.
With the filet crochet thing.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
It is Fair Isle on like size 2s, and it's the one that.
But that doesn't exist in your world. But no, this is an imaginary world.
If I could pick any pattern, and I'd probably do it bigger. But but it is a Fair Isle Thistle with the Celtic knots on the top and the bottom, and it's like the size of a door. Like hanging up, it's as wide as the door is.
Is this something that we could find and post in the description?
I think so, but I think it's like out of print now.
But still, Ravelry has listings of things that are out of print.
It took like between 2,000 and 4,000 yards of fingering weight. I mean, like, and I'd probably want to do it in, I don't know, like if I could pick any yarn, possum.
I mean, I think that's the direction we're both going to go in for what yarn, because something like, so we're not talking about the opossums that we see around here that, while shout out to Marion, she had one that she, like a little baby that they were fostering that was really adorable, but they also look kind of sketch at the same time. They're adorably cute in a really creepy way.
Possum yarn
that's not what we're
comes
talking about.
from the bush-tailed possum or brush-tailed possum in New Zealand.
New Zealand, yes.
Yes.
And they're actually a little bit cuter looking because they don't have the pointy and the scary and and they're ridiculously soft. So I don't have like one pattern I could say this is the name of it. I might have to come back to that later because this weekend I might go, oh my gosh, there's this pattern that I've wanted to for forever. Not really though, because I mean, for the most part, if there's a pattern I like and I see it, I make it, and I choose a yarn from the shop, right? But that's not what this question is asking. This question is saying if I wasn't limited to yarn in the shop, which is not a limitation because we have lovely yarn in the shop.
You tend to knit things that you like with yarn from the shop. But if you didn't have to use yarn from the shop, you don't even have to pick a pattern because you do,
I would probably want to do I mean, if I wanted a challenge or something really fun, it would probably be a sweater with a lot of complicated things happening in it. And there's so many different ones out there, I can't just pick one. But it would either be a sweater that is full of cables with the
Fair Isle cables.
No, what I was going to say is really complicated Fair Isle or cables, like one or the other would be like something, because I'm really on this sweater kick. I have a total aside about socks later if if there's time. But no, I mean, it's hard for me to say, oh, there's this pattern that's so out of reach and I really want to do it, because I think everything is within reach. But then if I go to yarn, I would definitely want to do some kind of super luxury type yarn, like we're talking about here. Like really the thin cashmere sweaters. Like we have cashmere here in the shop, but it's not when people think of like a machine made cashmere
You're
sweater,
looking for like
you're looking
lace.
for really fine lace weight cashmere, like something like that. Or like she's saying, the possum or buffalo is really kivet, which kivet is kind of the possum.
Kivet is a yak type.
Oh yeah, kivet. Those really soft luxury yarns that, to make a sweater out of that, just the material, like the cost would probably be like at least $500 to $1,000, just for the materials, and then to spend time on it. And that would be awesome. That would be really fantastic. So a luxury fiber is what I would absolutely die to make like a whole entire sweater out of. But then I'd have to make sure, like, we're still in this imaginary world. If I come back to the real world, then I'd be like, oh my gosh, I wouldn't want it to, I have to take care of it, for all the thousands of dollars it would be worth at that point. I told the guy in the Verizon store yesterday, I was wearing this, and he said, ooh, I really like your cowl. Like, that's really, dope. Probably didn't say dope. He probably says whatever is really cool right now. That's not language I know. And I said, thank you, I made it. And I said, I run the yarn shop downtown. And he goes, oh, you sell them too, right? And I was like, no.
We sell the build your own.
Yeah, I was like, these are examples for what you can make from the yarn. Because he was like, I would buy that. And he looked very, I'm out of date, I would say hip, the modern version of hip. And I threw off at him. I said, yeah, we have shawls in the shop that if we had to sell them, we'd probably have to put a price tag of at least $500 on them. And this is not a shawl. This is a cowl. I wouldn't put a $500 price tag on this, but he kind of looked like if he could, he would choke. And I was like, yeah. And these aren't even luxury fibers. They're just nice ones, right? This one, I mean, I want to say the material for this, we're looking at almost $50 worth of material. And then the time that went into it, like I'd at least want to charge $150 to $200 for this. And who's going to pay that for this? Someone who knows the time that went into it, maybe, probably not. So, but someone buying this, the materials, and making it and wearing it themselves, and they could say this costs, if we're not, trying to do the math on labor, it's cost $50. But, a lot of you watching this right now get that. Right? If you do any type of crafting at all, and you can buy lesser expensive yarn so that your profit margin is greater. Like I used to do craft shows and put things on Etsy, and I said to the people at Verizon, I said, yeah, if I could make a living off of knitting, I'd do it. But you can't sleep, and you have to hope that anyway, yeah.
It's crazy.
Crazy for what people would like to pay for handmade items, and what they can afford to pay for handmade items versus what people who make handmade items would like to charge. You can reduce the cost of the materials. You can get less expensive yarn, but that usually means the quality is not as good. And then people won't want to pay as much for it because it doesn't feel as nice, or they don't think it'll last as long. But there's still all the hours that you put into making it.
It's always fascinating on this, which isn't one of our questions, but we'll off on a tangent. And it's always fascinating. It's always fascinating to me that if it is knit or crochet, people expect it to be cheaper than woodworking, than any other craft or hobby.
Textiles like this are not as expensive or labor intensive or what have you than other forms of artistry. Yeah, a lot of it does take as long, and a lot of it is it depends on how you define creativity, but a lot of it takes just as much creativity or investment or those types of things. Some people will say with the woodworking, the other things, it's like, oh, but it's this it's the creativity from the artist's brain. There you can make stuff You can make it up.
There are people
have to
that
follow a
freeform
pattern.
knit and crochet
Yeah.
things, and
sometimes they can charge more for it. Maybe. I mean, it
Yeah.
depends on what people put value on. Is it the taking the time to hand make it? Is it that it looks perfect? That's totally different, right? Um, it's really it's fascinating. I find like this cowl that I'm wearing is one skein of Fiber Space DK, and that's a superwash, and it feels wonderful, and it looks nice, and it's about somewhere in the vicinity of $30 of material, a little less. But then how long did it take me to make it? And I had to rip it out because the sizing wasn't right, and does that become part of the cost? Or it's and it is someone else's pattern. So I always want to give Melanie Rice credit for this. I didn't make this up on my own, but I did put the time in to make it. And whether or not it's perfect, it looks pretty good and people really like it. So, but if I was going to sell this for, let's say, sometimes people say double or triple the cost of your supplies, which is in no way compensating you for the time it took to make it. But, if I tripled the cost, I'd charge $90 for this. And not everyone would want to pay that for this. I know that. But then I think about how many times I've sold yarn for people to make this because I'm wearing it or because it's in the social media or on the shop site.
I've
probably made more than $90.
I've kind of settled on our samples are more like paint chips at a paint store. It's hard to explain why when people walk up, it's hard to explain like what other business do you have samples? And if you know of one, comment, because my brain has been
think about like interior design in a way, but like
but
if you
some
have
of those
floor
you
models versus other
buy
things,
them,
right?
Buy them straight off the
floor model and stuff. When you don't need it anymore, that kind of thing for a reduced price. And we might, if we run out of yarn, sell like don't carry this yarn anymore, which hopefully we always carry this yarn.
Yeah.
We might sell them at what for us would be a reduced price, like a floor model. So my issue, so keep going with paint chips.
But I use paint chips because it's like, what can you do with the yarn?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not the color on the paint chip, but it, like, so that doesn't translate, but it's like, it's to show off what the yarn does.
I think it helps for people who come in who have a more logical brain like that, especially not limited to by gender, but it's a lot of the guys who come in who are just like, but what? But it's not limited to just guys. And because everyone's brains work differently, it's not only genderfied or whatever, but it tends to be spouses or partners or the people who don't do the crafting. Let's put it that way. But it's the thing that doesn't translate about the paint chips is like
they want to see a paint chip in every color. Is that what you were going to
say? It wasn't what I was going to say.
Never mind that.
She thinks she knows my brain, and she mostly does, but sometimes no, it's like a paint chip. You wouldn't sell a paint chip for as much as we'd sell these for. Like the finished products, like the logical part of it makes sense, but some people would go, but why would I buy a paint chip? And honestly, that's the point, right? Yeah. But it's like to let you wouldn't charge $500 to let a paint chip walk out the door. But
but that's why I have issues trying to find a real world sample. Like go to a car dealer, you can buy the car out of the showroom, so that doesn't translate. Like
well, and you don't let the paint chips walk out of they have to stay. So in that way it does work. Yes, it's true. Yeah, it's true. Which is why sometimes these don't have immediate. I have had visions and plans of putting a price on every single sample in the shop, so that if someone did want to buy it, I could just say it is blah, and if they want to pay it, great. But that takes time and energy, and we haven't had that during the pandemic, especially. So, but we need to get back to the question at hand because we have another question. So I really think it would be something I could wear if I could make anything I wanted to. It might even be like a trench coat or like something big and long that I look at the cardigans that are like dusters and things that actually, and it just would take so much yarn. And it's one of those, I don't want to use up that much yarn from the shop. But if I could have any yarn I wanted, but then again, I mean, I run in circles on this because if I had a duster or if I had a jacket, I do have a little jacket that I've made. Covers my bum. But I would want to do it out of something luxurious, but I also wouldn't want it to get caught on something and ripped. And, my brain goes down all those rabbit holes. So I can't narrow it to one pattern. I'm very sorry to whoever wrote that. I don't know if they had a little like signature name. They probably didn't, but that's okay.
The signature was mindfully curious.
Mindfully curious. I'm really sorry I can't limit it down to one so people can go, ooh, I want to make that now. Because I squirrel so much on things. But it would I can narrow it to 4 categories, which isn't really good, is it? But oh well. A sweater with lots and lots of really intricate fair isle on it, even more intricate than the Jupiter crop, like maybe making designs and trees and like a K facet type of thing. Would love to do a K facet, like really intricate, crazy. Those do look like something out of the 70s. I don't know, but that's okay. Or something with tons and tons and tons of cables and intricate designs made with the cables, right? Or yeah, but why? I mean, I guess I could see why, but still, I just
because if you're going with the intricate, the pattern and the cables are going to become part of the.
Yeah, but I wouldn't. I almost feel like the fair isle on the cable would compete with itself.
But like if you're doing a tree, you'd need green in certain parts and brown in certain parts, and the twist could be a branch, and it would actually be more like a 3D tree. It could actually be cool.
So like painting with knitting and stuff, kind of. Yeah. I could see maybe in the background, or that would be fascinating. That would end up being a lot more like not Entrelac, Intarsia. Intarsia is where you got clumps of color. Fair isle is where it stretches around the whole thing, so it strands usually. Maybe. I don't know if that's. I mean, that would be a fun thing to do, but I don't know if that would be the thing I would want to make. But okay, let me get back to the last 2 categories. Like a big, comfy, long cardigan coat type deal, or like what has always fascinated me is like a dress out of knit, like the Friday Night Knit Club. Like this childhood friend of hers, she knits a really fine dress for her, like a luxury dress out of luxury material. Now the issue with that is that would look really good if it was finely, like really, really finely knit, so you couldn't see through it because that could get weird. With a luxury fiber, that would look really good on someone with a different body shape than me. Like, because that will probably cling to every curve. And there's some curves I don't mind it clinging to, and other curves I absolutely would mind it clinging to. So that would be like in my imaginary world where I wasn't worried about my lumps and bumps and things. Wouldn't that be cool? That would be so cool. And the fiber would have to be something super luxurious. We're talking cashmere, kivet, like a whole dress out of kivet. Wow, that could be really soft and wonderful. Ox.
It would get pilly though.
Well, I'm not imaginary world. Imaginary world where everything is soft and nothing ever pills, which is what people want, but that's imaginary. So, yeah. So that's as narrowed in as I can get. If over the weekend I am looking through Ravelry at my queue, at my favorites, and I see something that I'm like, oh yeah, that's the one, I will come back and tell you about it. But I haven't found the one pattern I really, really want to make that I'm not limited by the shop for. I haven't found it yet. I have dreams. That's the best I can do for you. What's the other question so we can actually get to the other question?
Dear Becky and Lizzy, do you get paid in yarn? Signed, Nosy Knitter.
Nosy Knitter, do we get paid in yarn? That's a fun question. And the answer is kind of. I mean, I think I know what you would say to this. Maybe.
I actually get written a paycheck and I reinvest my paycheck.
That's what I thought she'd say to this. So
yeah. Occasionally my bosses allowed me to buy a radiator and, you know, other important
Occasionally, when
home
life expenses come up,
things,
I can be
you
okay
know,
with that.
but
No.
I reinvest my paycheck.
So when I was a minion at another yarn shop, I was paid in yarn essentially. Like we kept records, and I paid taxes on what I was paid hourly. But I think they cut me a paycheck, and I'm not naming them to not get anyone in trouble. Um, I think I was paid. They cut me a check twice because most of the time, again, we had a running spreadsheet with taxes and sales tax and everything involved. So everything was on the up and up in terms of what money went to the government. But and even I probably got pay stubs and things, but the actual cutting of a check happened twice in about 2 or 3 years of working there, because I always redeemed my earned value of wages in yarn. They would ring me up and they'd go in the spreadsheet. I choose not to do that here. I choose to, yes, the money goes to Liz and then she reinvests. And so in some ways, yes, Liz is paid in yarn. She also gets a discount on her yarn, an employee discount. I'll just straight up say that. And I won't tell you how much it is. But, you know, she can't buy me out of the shop is what it boils down to. But and I would say in some ways I am paid in yarn, because when I make gifts, I can get yarn from the shop at its wholesale value for making gifts for friends and family. My gift to myself is making the samples for the shop, because I think when I first started the shop, I wasn't always making sizes that fit me. I was making sizes that could go on dummies and could, you know, get through quickly. So it'd be an example, and isn't this great? And then I realized that me wearing the items actually sells them, sells yarn to make more. And I'm not the smallest person or the smallest size that you can make a lot of things in. So it uses up more yarn, but I think that's an acceptable loss, because it's not a loss for the shop, because the value of the yarn then just translates into a shop sample that has value that, yeah, if someone wants to buy it, if we put a really high price tag on it, I will let it walk out the door. If it's worth a fraction of the money it could bring into the shop. I mean, at some point I have to be a logical business person. And it's not, may not be romanticized to say that I'm doing a calculation to say how much money is this going to make me if it stays here versus how much money is it going to make me if it walks out the door.
And
it's not all romance and hearts and balloons and yay in a yarn shop.
We have had a couple of samples actually. Rebecca threw out a number and they said,
okay,
charge it.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I mean, it was a,
yeah,
if I remember, it was a hat. I think I know what she's talking about. I'm sorry, I'm playing with my hair because it's so freaking long and I left some of it down today. How long is that? That's crazy. Okay, squirrel. It was a hat, and it was a hat that didn't take me long to make with self-patterning yarn. So I didn't put a super hefty price tag on it. I probably put a price tag on it that was at least 3 times the cost of the yarn that went into it. But it wasn't as expensive as this yarn, you know. And they said, sure, I don't want to knit this for Christmas, so I can give this to someone for Christmas. And I said, okay. And I made another one. And that yarn, the yarn that walked out the door for a while, we didn't have in the shop because it was gone. And then now it's back, but I haven't made another hat, you know. So, yeah, I've squirreled off of what we were, paid in yarn. Roundabout way, yes. Literally, no. But because, I mean, and honestly, I don't pay myself a whole lot from this shop. A lot of what happens at the shop gets reinvested into the shop. I take what little I need to survive, and I try to survive on very little for that very reason. But then the joy of owning the shop is I get to work with yarn a lot. That's my job now. Is I used to joke that if I, when I was a teacher, if I could make a living off of knitting, I would. But as we've discussed earlier in the show, trying to make a living, like as in pay expenses and pay sales tax and pay everything else off of just sitting and knitting and selling those items, it's not going to work. I mean, someone has probably found a way that it will work, but Um, unless you have supplemental income from something else, or you have someone else providing income into the house, or you're knitting with the fanciest stuff and people are willing to pay hundreds and thousands of dollars for your items. Like, I think there are some knitters out there that have super fancy, like, they are knitters to the stars, and they do make that much off of a single item that they have spent months making. Like, knitting for movies and TV shows. Sometimes they will actually pay big bucks for people to just quit their jobs and sit and knit. Most of us can't do that. So this is the closest I've come, and there's a lot of other reasons I love having the shop. It's not just I get paid to knit. I don't actually. Um, I get paid to share my expertise with people. And again, this does not pay my bills at home, but I do request a small amount of money to share my skills with y'all, to do lessons and to help you out and to make you all become better knitters and crocheters. And then I get to use my teaching knowledge. Then all the things I love to do, I get to use here at the shop. So it works for me. It does fill my soul. Sometimes working with annoying customers drains my soul a little, but but
I tell everybody it is the best and the worst job for exactly the same reason.
mm-hmm.
I'm surrounded by yarn all day long. Like everybody's like, ooh, I would love to work in a yarn shop because, oh my gosh, it's fun, but there really isn't time to play with it.
Mm-mm.
So
Liz gets to knit when she's on camera.
Yeah.
And then sometimes when it's slow, which is an anxiety producing concern for me when it's slow here in the shop. We get to sit
especially
and
at
knit.
the beginning of the month.
And it happens to be the beginning of the month right now. Yay! But we don't often sit and knit at the shop. We've said that before. And every once in a while I will post on social media, hey, we had some downtime at the shop and look what I did. And that's because when there's downtime at the shop, I am concerned about the life of the shop. And therefore posting on social media and knitting for the shop, both stress wise, helps assuage my anxiety a little bit, but it's because I'm doing something for the shop.
There was downtime last week for other more frightening reasons, and I was threatening to go on strike.
Yeah.
So
yeah, there were life. Don't need to bore y'all with it, but it's this weird catch-22 because knitting and crocheting is a stress relief for me and has helped me get through very, very stressful times in my life. And then, but the only time we have to knit at the shop are anxiety producing times because nothing is happening at the shop, which means there's no money coming in the door. But hopefully in sitting down and knitting, if there's time for it, I'm helping money come in the door eventually. So inner workings of my brain. Don't you all love it? No, but when people come in and say, I love knitting and I'd love to start a yarn shop. And people said this very same thing to me when I said I was going to start a yarn shop. They went, are you sure? And do you really know what goes into it? And I said, yes, I'm fully aware that opening my own yarn shop does not mean I just get to sit around and play with yarn all the time. Like if someone says, I love yarn so much, I would like to start a shop. I say the same thing that was said to me of make sure you know what really goes into it and how challenging it will be. That it's not just, I love yarn. Yay, people are going to buy yarn from me.
It is a specialty retail.
Yeah.
And like people are like, but you work at a yarn shop. Yeah, it's retail.
It's retail.
But it's also bartending. It's also teaching.
It's the bartending and the like salon where you go and you and
people want to talk,
you bond
because you bond over yarn.
Yes.
But then it's the teaching.
Mm-hmm.
It's the, hey, I made a mistake. Can you fix it?
So it's like a salon in that you're also teaching people how to cut hair at the same time.
It is so many different layers on top of being retail.
And most of those I absolutely love.
Yeah.
And honestly, the retail, the bare bones retail part of it, which is how you stay in business, is my least favorite part. The part where it's like, well, I'm hoping to move so much product or so much this or that. I don't focus on that because I feel like my job is not to upsell you on stuff or not to just make sure you buy stuff. It's to make sure that you get the right thing for what you want to make. And I mean, it's for us, it's customer service,
Yes.
and we pride ourselves on our customer service, and hopefully, we retain customers because we're not just trying to sell you every gadget and doodad. We love our gadgets and doodads, but
They're fine.
we're not
But
trying to say, well,
ultimately,
you have
it's
to have
just
this
sticks
and
and
have to have
strings.
this and have to have. No, it's
Yeah.
like we'll show you things you could get, but you don't have to get them. We'll talk to you about other options. So, but I think customer loyalty is more important in the long run. I mean, I talk nonstop about community and how important community is, whether you walk in the door or we help you online or you come to a sit and stitch, or that's in the end what is important. And if that happens to benefit me economically, yay, because I am a business at the end of the day. But it's not why I do it. And I think for some people that can be kind of hard to understand or to believe. But at the end of the day, and I've seen the results of that in the past month or so. I mean, I've seen the results of that the whole pandemic, right? But I've definitely seen the results of not just in it for the business recently. And it's been really gratifying is not the right word, but it's been heartfelt. And I'm still processing it because it's hard for me to process and accept things like that. But I'll stop getting all whatever that was.
It for to work in a yarn shop for yarn,
you have to really love it.
you have to really love it, and you can't afford to live on it.
No, I mean, I'll be perfectly frank. Like when I worked at the other yarn shop, I would have loved to have quit my day job and just worked as a minion in the other yarn shop. And I knew it wasn't possible. I knew even if I worked a 40-hour full-time job there, I would not have enough money to survive on.
I am fortunate enough that I didn't have a day job, and that my moving into the yarn shop as a residence just translated into a,
I mean,
if you're going to hang out, you might as well put away yarn. And if you're putting away yarn, you might as well talk to customers. And if you're talking to customers,
and I think I remember you saying something about, I could work for you if you want. And I was like,
you should learn how to use the register. And if you learn how to use the register,
no. Once you learn how to use the register, I pay you.
No, I know.
Right.
I know.
But I knew when I started the shop, it was just me. And I knew that if I was going to bring someone in, it'd be the same situation I was in. It would not be a viable source of living income. And I fully some people will say, if you can't pay a living wage, you shouldn't be in business. And I run this shop out of the love of my the yarn and everything.
I am able to work for what Rebecca pays because everything else at home is taken care of.
Right. And that's
so,
but and that is like, there's so many ways that this works. And it's kind of a chicken or egg thing in terms of, I want to say the friendship probably came first, but the kismet of her being able to work for me because I can't pay a living wage. Like, there are a lot of things in Liz's life that let this happen and be good, or be like beneficial to both of us in ways that not everyone is going to come across in their lives. Like, I could be a minion on the weekends at the other yarn shop because I had a full-time job during the week. And it wasn't something that, and Liz is here every day. And I can't pay her to be here every day. Let's be just honest about that, right? So there's hours that she's probably not on the clock technically, but she's here, and I'm very grateful for that. But yeah, two people working here full time. Margins are slim enough on most yarn shops unless they're ridiculously famous or have a lot of reserves. That the whole, like, when you go to, we got to wrap up soon, but there's all this business lingo when you start learning about business, about turnover and turnover rates and what's profitable and what's not. And yarn stores don't turn over enough to really be like successful and expand, most of them, especially your local yarn shop. So please support. If you support us, I love it. If you support another local yarn shop, I love that too. I mean, I want me to stay in business, but I know what all the other yarn shops are going through as well. So, and I'm going way down this rabbit hole. We should, if people want to hear more about all the nitty gritty, some other time.
Write us a note.
Yeah, make it a question for dear Becky and Lizzy. But there's other reasons. Like, it's not pure retail. If it was pure retail,
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people would open local yarn shops because it's hard.
It starts with retail, but
Yeah.
there are so many other layers, and
Mhm.
people that don't understand yarn are like, but it's retail. Well,
Or
it's not just retail.
Yeah.
And it's not just a yarn shop. There are so many other things.
mhm,
No, we do not sit and knit all day.
no.
What? You don't sit and knit all day, but it's a yarn shop. Yeah.
There's
about
so
that.
many other things, even when there's nobody here in the shop. Especially in the pandemic, we are working our butts off to make this work.
Generally, it
And-
starts with we got another order in. Either yarn coming in the door or an
Well, and some
online
of that-
order going out, or
And some of that is based on orders coming in purchase wise.
Yeah.
So otherwise I can't buy more
Yeah.
yarn, but what was the last thing I was going to say on that? We also have customers who don't necessarily fully get the non-retail side of this. So they'll say, well, I bought all my yarn with you, so therefore I'm entitled to, they'll see the other side of it, but they won't understand the business. It's complicated. But we love that you guys are watching us, and we hope we can entertain you more, and we hope that we have a relationship with you. So you ask us questions, and then we, come to Sit and Stitch, see us live
tomorrow night.
Some people have enjoyed that, and some people have dabbled and said, that's cool, and that's okay. That's life.
6
7.
to 9.
Where's 7 coming from?
I don't know.
Nothing ever happens at 7.
A nap time in between
7
going home and
7 is when I actually decompress enough from work to maybe pick up yarn. It has been noted. I wasn't paying attention to that, but So yeah, tomorrow night, not tonight. Tonight I might go home and sleep. Tomorrow night we will have Sit and Stitch from 6 to 9 p.m. virtually still.
Shop phone number is the Zoom code to get in, 828-877-3550.
Excellent. And not this Saturday, but a week from Saturday, we will have what is probably going to be our last Saturday dual platform virtual Sit and Stitch. But don't worry, I have plans to try to keep it going once a month, but maybe we'll move it to Sundays because we're going to try to open the shop again on Saturdays, and we'll see if it kills me.
We're still going to keep our same protocols
of appointments,
and we can help you outside. We can help you inside with appointment. At least for right now.
Yeah, more details next week because the shop should have been opened a couple minutes ago, but not this Saturday, but next. The thing you should hang on to right now. We will have a Saturday virtual Sit and Stitch on both Facebook Live and Zoom on Worldwide Knit in Public Day. So it's still going to be Knit in Public, safer at home. Even if we're some of the few people left who think that. On June 12th. So from 1 to 5 p.m. It's the shop phone number to get into Zoom. Facebook Live, you hopefully should just have to go to our Facebook page and see it happening. But we always publish it later in case you want to watch it later. So have a good weekend. Join us for Sit and Stitch if you can. We will be back here on Tuesday. And maybe I'll actually have some progress on some things more than just a couple rows. We'll see. I don't know.
I won't.
You're going to dread, right?
I'm dreading.
So come to see what Liz looks like next week if this happens.
Oh, it'll happen.
And if it doesn't happen, it's okay. I think it's okay. Anyway. I'm looking forward to it. All right, we have to go. We love you. We miss you. Even those of you we haven't met yet, we hope to meet you someday, whether it's virtual or in person with appointment. Anyway, stay safe. Craft on. We'll talk to you next week. Bye.